Hello and welcome to this episode of Insight. Now, if you're not familiar with Insight, it gives us an opportunity to ask very valuable questions to those who are the gurus, those who know and understand and have spent decades, not years, but decades in the field. And I'm happy to introduce once again Eleni Anastos. Now, Eleni is a prosperity coach, a business coach, a personal coach. She's written her book, My Reinvented Life, and she is also a guest speaker on many of the news channels. And without further ado, let's dive in and meet up with Eleni Anastos, our returning champion.
So, good morning, Eleni Anastos. How are you?
I am grateful. I am so happy to be here with you for another conversation. I appreciate you and your time.
I am totally excited. There's something about when we get together, things just click, and I learn a lot. And I know that our audience will learn a lot also. Now, I've given them an intro about you, my returning champion. But I want to talk about a subject that is really kind of bubbling up in the work that I've been doing with organizations, because it's a term that's being bantered around, and I'm not sure that people really understand it. It's used, overused, and even abused in some cases, and that is the term mindset. Now,
Mm.
you being a business coach and a personal coach, and the experience that you have, how do you explain the term mindset?
When I first think mindset, always instantly comes to mind the wonderful quote by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or think you cannot, either way, you're right. It's mindset. In one of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon didn't say build a widget and grow rich. Napoleon didn't say invest in real estate and grow rich. He said think and grow rich. So I really think it's important for people to embrace that, the mindset embodies your attitudes, your beliefs, your thoughts that really shape your perspective, how you're going to view the world, how you're going to respond in certain situations, personally and professionally. It can all be boiled down to that. And because we know without question, the same thing could happen to two different people, and we're going to have completely different perspectives. And that's okay, but it's based on mindset. It's based on what they believe, what they're constantly thinking. And that's all connected. And I want to share, because it is one of my favorite books, just how powerful, which I don't think everyone realizes, just how powerful mindset can be. Because Napoleon Hill discusses Gandhi in his book, in the chapter on faith.
Right.
And I believe that faith then falls under the umbrella of mindset, because it's what you believe. It's those beliefs you hold dear. And Gandhi wielded more power than anyone during his time, but he didn't have the trappings of power, if you will. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the army. He didn't have a house. He didn't even own a suit. But how was he able to influence 200 million people? His faith, because that's what he believed, and that's all connected to our mindset.
Right. Now, when it comes to mindset, we may not even be aware that we have a particular mindset. We wonder why we're not getting the results we're looking for, because there's a mindset that's within our blind spot. And that seems to be one of the hardest things to overcome is, well, how do I fix that if I'm not even aware of it? And so how does that work? How can we fix a mindset that currently isn't working for us and replacing it with a mindset that is really in alignment of who we want to be?
I love that question, and I appreciate absolutely awareness is key. And there are multiple mindsets, but I think the two most distinctive, it's the difference between fixed and growth. And that's what's important for people to understand as they reflect. because we all need to be able to look in the mirror and really be honest with what is happening in our lives and why it's happening. And those with a fixed mindset, they believe they are born with a certain set of innate skills and abilities that they cannot change. So a fixed mindset is saying, my skills, my talents are static. I can't grow. So if a challenge is presented to you that you feel is outside of your wheelhouse, a fixed mindset is going to say, why bother? I already know I can't do it.
Right.
Now, personally, I believe we are born with some innate skills and abilities, but when you have a growth mindset, you believe that those can be expanded. Now, with the right guidance and support, you can learn, you can adapt, you can move forward. And to me, that's pivotal. Adopting a growth mindset means you can positively affect change in your life. If you have a fixed mindset, you're stuck. I mean, clients come to me for a variety of reasons, to start or grow a business, or an executive wants to up-level themselves in the corporate world. They could be, for whatever reason, stuck professionally and they can't see the way out. So absolutely, the first thing I'm going to do is examine their thoughts and beliefs connected to that situation. How are you viewing this? How are you viewing why you're at where you're at and why you feel stuck? Because again, if you have that fixed mindset and you're locked in, you're going to say, there's nothing I can do to affect positive change in my life. Game over.
Right.
But if you have a growth mindset, then game on, because that means you're going to be willing to learn, to grow, to adapt, to affect positive change in your life.
Yeah. Oftentimes I've said to a client, what if you could? Let's pretend that this didn't exist, this whatever it is that's holding them back. What would you do?
Right.
And they would explain what
Right.
they would do. And I say, nothing's holding you back. Do it.
Right.
Right.
Right. What if you could?
And it seems like there's a fear factor there. It's
Oh
either
my gosh, yes.
the fear of the
Yes.
unknown, or there's something that
Yes.
when I say, are you waiting for permission?
Right. Yeah.
Ask yourself,
Yes.
what are you waiting for? Because if you do it, the sooner you do it, the sooner you get the results that you're looking for. But if you wait and you wait and you wait, all that time will have gone by and you'll still be where you are now.
Right. And it makes me think of a question somebody asked me recently, and I loved it. This person literally said, how do I know if I have limiting beliefs? I'm like, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That they were even willing to examine that. And again, our beliefs are so automatic from, years of experience, how we
Sure.
perceive things, what we've gone through. But when I work with people, if you're an entrepreneur or you're an executive, and you are presented with an opportunity to make more money, increase your bottom line, where do your thoughts first go?
Right.
Oh, this will never work. We don't have the time to make this happen. We probably won't get a good ROI. Or with the right strategy, this could really help us with our outreach. This could increase our bottom line. I believe that we're going to make this happen. It's so different because, at the end of the day, if your beliefs make you feel small or disempowered in any way, or are saying, don't bother, buddy, you can't move forward, then
Right.
absolutely they're limiting. And what I want people to really remember, our beliefs are rooted in so much of what we do. And that's going to impact your life moving forward.
Big
Because
time.
at the end of the day, none of us can succeed beyond our current beliefs. And I just want to reinforce real quick that let's not forget that you have a choice. And I believe your ability to choose is a superpower. So if you can choose thoughts and beliefs that make you feel limited, that make you feel inhibited, that make you feel stuck, then I also believe with the right guidance and support, you can choose beliefs that are going to empower you, that are going to help you create that next chapter, that are going to pull you forward, without question. And Okay. Because it's the 70th anniversary, can I share really quick the story of Roger Bannister?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I love the story of Roger Bannister. He was the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And it actually happened 70 years ago this year. Now, that was obviously an incredible achievement, a symbolic human achievement. I think everyone would agree.
Big time.
But prior to that time, I mean, since the dawn of time, running a mile under 4 minutes was just considered, oh, that's just possible, right? Impossible barrier. No way in hell a human can run a mile in under 4 minutes. Roger did it 70 years ago. But what's even more amazing to me that I want people to pay attention to? So again, since the dawn of time, nobody had done it. Roger does it. His record lasted only 46 days.
Right.
So what changed? It wasn't, oh, there's suddenly a better track condition or somebody created these amazing shoes. It was the belief that it was possible.
The proof that it was possible. Yeah.
And that's not that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So let's talk about that. Can we give that whole mindset or that process a name?
Yes.
I
Are we talking about that special filter for our brain?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, the reticular activating system. It's not the most common term, but I think everyone, once you talk about it, they're like, oh, yes, that makes sense. That fits.
Right.
And our reticular activating system is literally a filter for our brain. It is constantly supporting what we're thinking, and it will scan the environment, your environment, to look for evidence to support the thoughts you're thinking because it believes they're important to you. So if you're constantly thinking, this will never work, I can't make it happen, why bother? There's no point. Then guess what? Your RAS is going to give you all the evidence you need to stay stuck because that's its job.
Right. To prove that you're right.
Yes, yes. But, the good news is that we can use the reticular activating system to our advantage. But you have to be willing to examine what's currently going on first. So say, for example, I work with money mindset with people all the time. I help them achieve new income goals.
Right.
And if you want to achieve a new income goal, if you want to expand your money comfort zone, if you will, and your thoughts are primarily, it's too hard to make ends meet. Nobody's ever going to pay my fees. I can't afford it.
There's
Well,
not
again,
enough.
guess what? Right, there's not enough. The reticular activating system will give you all the evidence you need to stay stuck. So we have to first examine where you're programmed, but then we can reprogram, those beliefs with, clients happily pay my fees. My income is increasing.
Right.
And instead of, I can't afford it, how about, how can I afford it? And I know you would appreciate this, Dave. Sometimes we just need to ask a different question to shift our perspective. So instead of, I can't afford it, how about, how can I afford it?
Yep. And this really kind of moves in the direction of what you're talking about in terms of a scarcity or an abundance mindset. And
Yes.
that really is powerful. And it kills me to think that there are people out there who literally think themselves in a powerless way.
Yes.
And so how do we, as an individual, how can we practically build a mindset for growth?
That's an excellent question. Because if we focus on positive and empowering thoughts, like in the example with money, wanting to increase your income, then you are putting yourself in the driver's seat, if you will, and you can own your financial future. Because it's so important to ask yourself, are the thoughts I'm predominantly thinking helping me create the life I want or the life I don't want? Because at the end of the day, life is always about growth and expansion. We're always growing, we're always expanding. And I've had people say to me, no, I'm not. I've stayed in the same damn, shithole my whole life. And I said, but you've expanded that shithole. You're
That's right.
staying there more. It's still growth. So you have to ask yourself, am I growing in the direction I want or the one I don't want?
I've worked
And
hard digging it, and I'm not leaving.
oh,
Yeah.
so we first have to look at, all right, literally be honest, write out your thoughts, be honest with yourself. Does that match with the goal you have? Is it going to help build the bridge from where you are to where you want to go?
Right.
I had a friend recently ask, why do bad things keep happening to me? And I said, because you
Interesting.
hunt the bad and the universe has perfect hearing.
Right.
The reticular activating system is always working. It's mindset.
Yep.
And of course, I'm far from like superhuman, and stuff happens. You hit a rough patch. You're dealing with obstacles and challenges. I believe we all have to have grace with ourselves,
Absolutely.
without question.
Yep.
But I'm talking about the long game. If for your predominant thoughts and beliefs are keeping you in the same place, it's still growth and expansion, but you're growing in a negative way.
Right.
You have to be honest with the questions we're asking. Is this thought helping me grow to create the life I want or the life I don't want?
Yeah. Some people really become great friends with their victim mentality. It's a great excuse for why they don't get things done. And they'll hold on to that until their last breath, which is one of the biggest challenges to this question of how does somebody change that mindset? Is it they've got to want to? Because it doesn't just happen, you
No,
know? Um,
no.
so
Let's wave a magic wand and you're all better now. No,
so the process is work, right?
100%. 100%. And that to me, well, as you well know, the decision comes first. You have to decide.
Right.
Because I was listening to this, an individual who wants to leave corporate and start their own business. And she kept telling me, well, I want to do this. I wish to do that. I wish, I want, I would, if wishing and hoping could make it so.
Yeah, we'd all be billionaires, right?
I am all for fairy tales. I love a good Hallmark movie when I want the mental escapism. But I asked her, I said, but have you decided? She said, what do you mean? I want this. I want to start my own business. Have you decided? I kept asking. I said, you're telling me what you wish for,
Right.
but the decision, the commitment is we know you've got to decide and you've got to go all in.
Exactly.
And it's not about, guilt and shame, like, why haven't I done this yet? Or mistakes that you've made. Hello, you're human. So
Right.
please don't beat yourself up for any decisions that have been made in the past. And, I'm a fan of growing through what I go through.
Right.
Get the lesson out of it, get the gift, but it's still important to be honest and reflect because like the yin and the yang. So back to the money situation, when I hear a client, oh, nobody's ever going to pay my fees, we have to flesh that out. What's causing you to feel that way? And I said, is that going to help you reach your income goal?
Right.
No. Are you going to attract your ideal client? No. Okay,
Feeling
then.
of that person's feeling of lesser value. And so they don't understand how what they have to offer is valuable in the eyes of other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
So
I'm gonna do a shameless pitch here because that go through what you grow through is a perfect subtitle to your book, My Reinvented Life. And I want to encourage everybody that if you're struggling with mindset and you want to understand how difficult times can imprint negativity on our brains and that we have to begin to try to think differently before we can begin to act differently. And that's a perfect example of this book and what I got out of it. So anybody watching, it's a shameful pitch, but it's a great book. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that there was an incredible amount of value in that. And it helps, like I've said before, it's a roadmap, right?
Yes.
It's a roadmap.
Yes.
And we all need a roadmap. We need a user's guide to life because none of us have it all figured out. There's
No.
always work to be done. But when it's work, a work of love,
Yes.
when you care about yourself enough to be part of your love project,
Yes.
then your life can change significantly, can't it?
Oh, that's beautifully said, without question. And having that love and grace for yourself, I think, is huge. Again, I don't want to see anybody take themselves out of the game. I don't want to see people discount themselves, because of age or circumstance or decisions that have been made in the past. If
Right.
you're still breathing and you have that desire to be, do, or have something more in your life, I believe that you can create another chapter. You can reinvent your life in some way. And I've even had people say, well, reinvention, I can't reinvent my life, thinking it has to be some
Of the
big,
past.
huge
Yeah.
overall. No.
Right.
Sometimes it could be as simple as adding a simple habit or releasing one that no longer works for you. One of my favorite sayings is small hinges swing big doors.
Right.
So just decide and start with one action to start swinging that pendulum over in your favor.
Yes. The more you can take even small incremental improvements and learn to master them from the standpoint that they become a practice, right? A habit. Then you can go to the next one and say, what can I do here? And over time, that's transformation right there. So you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be this large, grandiose thing or everything at once. That's overwhelming. Nobody can accomplish that. It's unrealistic and oftentimes gives us the excuse of why we don't change. But
Yes.
yes, taking those small incremental steps, journalizing and writing down, these are the things that I appreciate about myself. These are the
Yes.
things that I would like to improve in. And then go to a friend and ask them,
Right.
why are we friends? What
Mm,
is it about me that has you, be my friend? Why do you call me a friend? And you're going to hear a lot of them perhaps describe themselves and they're going to try to describe you. And at the end of the conversation, they'll be like, I don't know. I just like you.
mm,
Right. And that should be reaffirming to a degree in terms of you have value. Fundamentally, we all have value and we have to appreciate that. If we don't, then we're missing the entire important chapter of life.
yes.
You know?
Yes. And owning your own worth is huge, to what you're saying about value
Yes.
is so important, especially so much has happened in the world that has caused people to be overwhelmed and to rethink everything.
Right.
But at the end of the day, your core worth, your value needs to always be with you. Now, I know it's easier said than done, but I still want people, again, I don't want to see people quit on themselves. I don't want to see people give up on their dreams because of all the noise out there, because of the external, circumstances, because there is so much that we can't control. It's
Right.
absolutely beyond your control.
Yep.
And I have a growth mindset, but I'm acknowledging it's not about, well, if you have a growth mindset, I can do anything. I'm not saying that. We still
No.
have to work with what's in front of us.
Right.
But at least with a growth mindset, you believe in the possibility, you commit, you take action to move towards your goals, to move towards creating that next chapter.
Right. And it's interesting because as on that journey, there are branches.
Yes.
And life seems to open up much wider when you have that mindset of growth. It opens your mind to possibilities and opportunities that you wouldn't have had if you'd stayed in that hole that you dug
Right.
so well.
Right.
And so that's of huge value. My RAS story was that I had a mentor, and he would ask me, what I wanted to do professionally. And then he also, included, well, what are some personal goals? And this was back when I was 25, 26 years old. I said, well, I'd really like to own a home.
Mhm.
And he says, okay, I'm going to give you an assignment. Every weekend, you're going to go to model homes. And at the time, they were all over the place. You're going to go to the model homes. And every time you walk through the front door, I want you to take a deep breath and go, I'm home. And so I
Mm.
thought, well, this is ridiculous. But I, being a good mentee, if you will, I did it. I went all over the place, saw a lot of beautiful houses, and I walked into this one house. I took my deep breath and said, I'm home. And I hear from the kitchen this voice that says, I'm so glad to hear someone say that. And the realtor came out and said, tell me more. Tell me about what you want to accomplish. And she was amazing because she showed me, gosh, there's funding out there for you. You can get an FHA loan. There's these things that you can do. It's possible to own a home. And within a year, I had bought my first home.
I
I
love that.
I think that we really have to. That wasn't a huge step out of my comfort zone. I mean, I got some strange stares when I walked in and there were other people there, and I said, I'm home. And they were like, this is a model, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought this was for sale.
Right. So, but I think we have to, and that wasn't even a risk. It wasn't a risk. I wasn't putting myself out there. I was just doing, an exercise that I was asked to do by my mentor. But we have to do things differently. Some things are risky, but you have to look at risk versus benefit.
Yes.
If you want to win big, then you've got to risk kind of big, you got to ante up to the game.
Yes.
But if you don't want to do that, of course, those incremental steps, there's so much that you can learn going through those. It doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing. It can be small, consistent, forward moving behaviors that can make a difference in someone's life. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to circle back for a second. You had mentioned that people can be, well ensconced in that victim mentality, which I agree, we've all seen. But I really want to reinforce, we all know so much can happen in the world and has happened and continues to happen
Sure.
through no fault of your own. Everyone's been victimized somehow in some way.
Absolutely.
But back to your ability to choose being a superpower, but it's always, always your choice whether you remain a victim or not. Are you willing to grow through what you go through? Doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean you deserved it. But, let's be honest, shit happens and something unjust may have happened to you. So now are you going to let that have power over your life moving forward?
Right.
Or are you going to do what you can do with what you have and keep creating?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Eleni, as always, this has been fantastic. I I want Insights to be a show for people to broaden their thoughts, open their
Mhm.
minds, and also give them some direction that they can take on to apply these things that we talk about. Otherwise, it becomes trivia. And so I want to thank you so much for being on this episode of Insights once again. I look forward to the next time we get a chance to cover another valuable topic like this. So,
Yes, thank you so much. I love connecting with you. And as always, knowing that we can share to hopefully positively impact someone is worth it all.
yes. And if you're watching this and you're looking for someone who will help you from the standpoint of being that coach, being that voice in your ear, being supportive, and pushing you in a positive direction, I encourage you to contact Eleni Anastos. Her information is down below, and she's an amazing human being. So I wouldn't hesitate to bring her into your life and make a difference.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
Very grateful. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on Insights.